Welcome back, fight fans, to Finisher Presents Before the War, where we discuss up-and-coming bouts, combat sports, boxing, MMA, all those like kickboxing, everything. Saturday, there will be quite an interesting fight for the Bantamweight division in the UFC, or if you're not familiar, the 135-pound division. Where the legend and former featherweight champion Jose Aldo, now a bantamweight, faces up with the up-and-coming Massachusetts resident Puerto Rican representative for MMA, Rob Font, for a chance at being a contender for the title. Jose is probably going to continue to have his win streak if he does win this weekend in the bantamweight division. There's a possibility he'll have a second shot at the title because he's already had one before, and that was against Peter Yan. Before we get into it, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. If you have friends interested, show them, share it to them, and let's get into it. Rob Font versus Aldo. Let's talk Aldo. I'm going to try to break this down as simply as possible. His career is extensively long. He's been fighting for a long time, over close to 20 years. He's been in the UFC over a decade. So let's start with Aldo, and I'm going to try to make this as simple and quickly as possible. Aldo's a legend in the sport, having one of the longest win streaks in MMA and entering the UFC and taking it by storm, collecting wins and ultimately leading him to collecting the UFC Featherweight belt at 145 pounds after defeating Mark Hominick back in April 2011. Then going on to defend the belt 6 times, taking out names like Korean Zombie, Chad Mendes twice, and Frankie Edgar in Frankie's prime, and only losing the belt when he met up with future rising star and soon-to-be double champ, you guessed it, Conor McGregor. Conor was in his prime then, a very different fighter at the time. It was an interesting time to be a UFC fan watching Conor lift up in the sport and now seeing where he is today. But Conor upset the world and knocked out Aldo in 13 seconds in the first round. Conor would go on to vacate the belt due to not defending it, giving Aldo a second chance at life and facing and beating Frankie Edgar again, respectively, a second time to return as champion. Unfortunately, in the UFC, there's not much time to rest, and bad luck kind of struck again on Aldo as he had to defend his belt after the Frankie Edgar win and returning as champion against Max Holloway, who, if you know Max, is a dominant force, especially during those early days of the UFC. Max defeats Aldo, winning by TKO KO. They fight again, and the result was literally the exact same thing. Nothing changed. I think it was the same round and damn near this much in time difference of the TKO KO. I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but yeah, they were like neck and neck, the exact same result after each fight. Max became champion, and Aldo was just trying to survive the featherweight division. Unfortunately, this division, 145, is a hell of a division because not long after, he faces Alexander Volkanovski and loses again. If you know Volk would later on go to beat Max Holloway to become the current featherweight champion and is still champion to this day. So Aldo is on a losing streak at this point. And again, it's against very strong competition. It's not like he's losing to scrubs. These are the top dogs of the 145 division. So Aldo makes the respective decision to move down in weight because he knows he's too small for the 155. And if he can't be successful at 145, let's see where the success can lead at 135, where he comes in at the bantamweight division. His first go at the bantamweight division, he faces off against Marlon Moraes, losing, unfortunately, but everyone who saw that fight thought Aldo won. The judges took it away from Aldo. They robbed him. I believe he was robbed, and a lot of people do. And so, having watched that fight live, I had Aldo actually winning. Wait. It might have been Was that a 3-round fight? No, that might have been a 3-round fight. I had Aldo winning. Let's just put it that way. I had Aldo winning that fight. I forget if it was a 5-round or 3-round fight, but I had Aldo winning that fight. But the judges gave it to Moraes, via a split decision. The UFC clearly disagreed with this decision and actually gave Aldo a shot at the title after being on I think now at this point, a 3-fight losing streak. So Aldo still gets a shot at the belt at 135 because of his status and because the UFC disagreed with the decision that the judges gave against the Moraes fight, which, okay, cool. Aldo gets a shot at the 135 belt, which is vacated at the time, against Peter Yan, in which Aldo was dominated and lost the fight. Again, Aldo, yes, he loses again. He's on a 4-fight losing streak, but I don't think these are top guys, because Peter Yan is currently the interim champion and should be rightfully the current bantamweight champion, if you know what I'm talking about. But that's not important currently. He does get TKO'd in the last round of their fight, so it went all the way. Aldo was definitely competing, but I don't think it would have mattered. I did have Peter Yan dominating Aldo in that fight. Aldo would have lost regardless of what would happen. So essentially, this leaves Aldo with what most would call gatekeeping status. It's essentially where you're not good enough to get the championship belt because the guys on top are too strong, but none of the guys below you are good enough to get past you. So they call them gatekeepers for the casuals that don't understand the terminology. They essentially are the doorway to the champion. It's an interesting status to be a part of. You would know when you're at this status, it's not likely that he's going to get another title shot at the belt. Aldo has stayed busy. He fought Chito Vera, where he won by decision. He fought Pedro Munoz. He won by decision. So so Aldo's keeping busy. He's keeping that status steady. He's had one hell of a career, and with this current status of the bantamweight division, I don't see it as a lost opportunity that he might get a second shot at the belt. In the meantime, he will be facing a very hungry East Coast American who represents the Puerto Rican heritage in MMA in Rob Font of the New England Cartel, and I don't think he should sleep on Rob Font. All right, Rob Font, slightly the younger guy with half the experience. Rob Font will be the young, hungry lion coming into this fight, and he's going to try to make a mark against the legendary and former champion in Jose Aldo by defeating him on Saturday. Font is currently on a very strong 4-fight winning streak. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, and he just took home a big win last May over Cody Garbrandt, who, first off, people had Cody as the favorite in that fight, similar to what they had now. And Cody came off of a big win against Rafael Sunsao with a beautiful return. It was his return fight, and it was a beautiful wide right hook that just knocked the Sunsao clean out cold. Rob Font was able to keep his composure. He came in with he had his hands high, he stayed composed like I mentioned, and just outdid Cody overall, winning and beating Cody by unanimous decision. Before that, Rob also knocked out Marlon Moraes in the first round, who, if you don't remember, I mentioned earlier, beat Jose Aldo via split decision. Rob is coming in with a very strong resume into this fight that will show that he should be here facing a legend like Aldo, so that he can prove that he is amongst the great in the bantamweight division. And if a win happens, he definitely deserves to get a title shot. He definitely does, because he's taken out 2 big names in a row and will currently be on a 6-fight winning streak against Cody Garbrandt. Jose will not be a pushover, and I think Font will need to bring the same discipline and composure to this fight that he had when he fought Cody Garbrandt, and to make sure you check all of Aldo's kicks, because his leg kicks are still legendary and he's still known for them. So those are the things he needs to keep in mind if he decides to throw them, because I think as of lately he hasn't been throwing them. But yeah, that's gonna be where Rob Font's gonna need to keep himself together, is to keep himself composed and strong and coming in with a good game plan and sticking to it. That was all the information I could give for this before the war, as we go into the weekend fighting, preparing for this fight. All right, so let's look at this fight as a whole. I've had the pleasure of sparring Rob Font and seeing him train, as he has been having some striking skills developed at the Muay Thai heavy gym, Hard Knocks Muay Thai in Massachusetts, who I've proudly been a part of since I was young. Jake Manini is his kickboxing striking coach, so his kickboxing will be on point, as Manini has helped train a number of North American Muay Thai champions and is a coach with the goal of raising up the North American Muay Thai scene, as well as having a very intelligent MMA coach in Tyson Chartier. I think I might be mispronouncing that. Chartier. Tyson Chartier, helping him navigate a number of other skills and helping to guide him very, very far in this very tough MMA scene. On top of that, he has fellow sparring partner Calvin Kattar, who has faced off against legend Max Holloway and has dominated a ton of opponents in the featherweight division. So Rob comes with a very strong team behind him, and this team is the type of team to help you beat someone like Jose Aldo, who is going to be a striking nightmare. Aldo, known for his MMA style of Muay Thai, heavy kicks, overall aggression, you're going to need to be very smart about how you approach him. Also has been in every aspect of the game, having been in the UFC for over a decade and fighting in fighting even longer than that, actually, and fighting in all aspects of the sport. Rob will have to utilize as much boxing offense and then keep his kickboxing defense on point, ultimately defeat Aldo, in my opinion. Aldo's going to go for the legs. He might not. But I think if you outbox Aldo, you have a better chance of winning. And I personally think Font has a better boxing style than Aldo does. Logically, I would say the veteran Aldo would beat Rob Font. But with what Font has been doing in this division the last couple of years and getting better after every fight, I'm choosing Font winning this fight by unanimous decision. Logically, according to experience and the stats, Aldo should win. But this is the fight game, and sometimes you have to take the gambles and expect for the upsets. And I think this could handily be one of those moments. I'm calling it here right now. I got Font winning by unanimous decision. I might also be a little biased. Font is Puerto Rican. He is representing the PR in the UFC right now. Shit, even in MMA at this level, and there's very little of that. So I would like to see him succeed, but I'm gonna go with my gut here and say that I think Font has the skill sets to make an upset for this. I wouldn't be surprised if Aldo wins. That's not a surprising thing, as Aldo's a legend in the sport. But I want to see the upset, and I'm gonna go with my gut here instead of my logic telling me that Aldo wins. But I'm gonna go with my gut and say that Rob Font does win this fight. That he will take the upset. So I want my mans to succeed at this moment. I want him to succeed. Well, there it is. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Finish 'Em Combat Sports channel. We will have a video for you guys Saturday. I owe you guys a Max Holloway video since I missed doing before the war of his fight with Yair Rodriguez. So I think I will be doing a kind of catalog video on Max's career and why, if you're a casual, that this is the man you should be watching in order to really embrace UFC or MMA as a whole. I also will be having a reaction to this fight, to the Rob Font fight, this weekend afterwards. So look forward to that. We should have that up probably Sunday morning after the fight happens. So if you're excited for any of that stuff, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends interested in combat sports content, and yeah, we will see you guys on our next videos where I will be doing a number of things. Yep, we'll have a number of things coming out. All right, guys, see you guys later. Adios.